On today's episode, we'll be talking about business after service in the armed forces. Is it for you? Do you have the skills? I think so. My name is Bruno, and this is The Battle Plan. On today's episode, we have my cousin who lives in the United States. His name is Mike Guevremont, or Guevremont if you live down south. Mike served in the U.S. Army from 1984 to 1997. He then transferred over to the White House Communications Agency and Presidential Contingency Programs, worked for State Department, which is now known as FEMA through government contractors, started his own company, Executive Protection Systems, in 2001 and grew it to a multi-million-dollar company and made the Inc. 500 business magazine, was president, CEO, and chairman of the board of Top of Virginia Regional Chamber of Commerce, served on many charitable boards. He's married with 3 kids, 3 grandkids, live in Key West, Florida. Mike, welcome to The Battle Plan.
Well, hello there, my cousin. And I'm glad and excited to be on your show.
Oh man, thank you so much for coming, Mike. It's great to see you again. I love when we connect. I'm always happy, when we talk that the family spreads from up French Canadian all the way up north, all the way down south to the Florida Keys and all these things, which is pretty amazing. I got a lot on, we both served in the forces. We're both business after the forces. So there's a lot in common. I love when we connected and we went to the embassy over in Washington, D.C. for the launch of the Invictus Games. That was great. All these things. So today we're going to be talking about exactly that, business after the service, because obviously you're very successful. And you've done a lot, and you continue to help veterans out there start their own business, mentoring, doing these things, which we'll be talking about on today. But let's start, tell us a little bit about your service in the forces.
So, as you said, in when you were doing my introduction, I just had an amazing career. I started out in the Army National Guard, and I did that when I was still in high school. And it didn't take me long to realize that wasn't enough. So I got out of the National Guard, went into the regular Army, and they sent me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And I just did everything they could throw at me. And I was very successful. And I got recruited to go into Delta Force or the White House, almost at the exact same time. I got a letter from each one. And so I had to make a decision. And fortunately, I had an uncle on my mother's side, Armand Lafort, or however you want to say, another French Canadian guy. And he was in the Army for 30 years. And he gave me a lot of inspiration and great advice. And he said, you got to take the assignment and go to the White House. So I went there and I got to serve the White House Communications Agency, and then, like you said, onto Presidential Contingency Programs. And working in those very specialized units, I just made amazing connections, and I learned so much more than I ever could have dreamed. And that's what really catapulted me into what I am today as a human, as a business person, and all the skills it taught me.
Right, exactly. And that's, you brought a very important part that a lot of us veterans that are running our own business and everything, when we both, you and I are mentors, and we help the guys and girls that are starting their businesses. One of the most important point that I bring up is the one that you just mentioned, networking, about meeting the right type of people. And this is the thing, right? In the military, we meet so many people from all around the world. We meet, we serve with different types and all these things. But the thing we forget is that we have probably one of the most vast network out there. And when people get out, they start doing their own thing. And we kind of forget the team aspect of thing. Hey, man, can we work together? And I think Was that the case for you? Was that, obviously that's what you mentioned, but tell us a little bit about the importance of networking.
So, when I was coming up in the military, I was very fortunate. I had great leadership, and they exposed me to all kinds of things, education and just work ethic. And one of the stories they did told me was when I was very young, just getting promoted to sergeant. They they had a promotion party for me, and they invited the guys, the cleaning team, contracted contracted guys, and they would just be the guys who emptied the trash. And they invited them to my promotion party. And I said, "Hey, Sergeant Morris, why did you invite the cleaning guys?" He said, "Aren't they human? Aren't they helpful to you every day? Aren't they part of the team?" And at first I was like, they're the cleaning guys. He said, "No, they're people. And once you realize everybody around you is just important as you will be a different person."
I love it,
And
Mike.
I took that in, and then I realized, I started looking around at everybody around me. That guy is important. That guy's important. And you never really know. And that was kind of what he's trying to teach me is never really know where that person inside of you is going to go in life. And hey, one day they could be CEO of a company. They could be important. They could have their own business. You might need to connect to them. So if you treat everybody great and you give everybody respect, one day when you pick up the phone and you need to call them, they're going to be, "Oh man, you were a good guy."
Mhm.
And that's the impression that he told me to leave on people. And now that's what I've taught my kids and everybody around me is, look, you have got to network, meet people, shake hands, look people in the eye, give them respect, and not be afraid to reach out. And then as you build your network and people come across your path over and over again, and then you're so filled with contacts and
Mhm.
and and a great network, and you just never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, the power of networking is definitely that. But once again, you're dropping a knowledge bomb here. Is that to be nice to people, because you're exactly right. You don't know who you're going to meet, or maybe that person knows somebody that knows or is providing exactly what it is that you need, and that's what it is. I always treat people with respect, and they're all important. And I think we learned that in the military from being everybody on the team has a specific role and is very important. And that is important in the business. And which brings me to the next question before I start asking you of what you were doing there at the White House and presidential contingency program. But a lot of veterans don't think that they have the skills to start a business, or they don't have the education, or especially in the non-commissioned ranks, right? We're talking about that. We expect that from the officers, obviously, because they have a degree. But for the non-commissioned, like myself and yourself, do we have the skills? The people that serve in the military, do we have the skills to start a business?
So I would ask, or I always ask people, do you have the heart and the drive? Every Nothing else matters. The education piece, I would never say education is not important, but I'm a great example of, I don't have a college degree. I took a couple of college classes, and I was CEO of the third largest chamber of commerce in Virginia, CEO of my own company, CEO of two other companies that I got hired to take over to help grow. I've had great positions in the federal government based on my knowledge and skills that I've built up on my own, not because I went to college. And a lot of times people in the military get discouraged. But the one thing that they have that a lot of people don't have in the civilian world is determination and drive. When you join the military, you have to take the hill. You have to jump out of the plane. You have to go under the barbed wire. You have to find the bomb. It doesn't matter. You're going to do what you got to do. And because you have that drive and determination, you could take that same trait and put it into business and say, I got to be successful and I've got to do whatever I've got to do to make myself what I need to be successful, because it's what you do in the military.
It's exactly what we do, right? And that's the one thing that I do remind the troops when I'm mentoring them. I'm saying, it seems to me that when we get out of the service, that we tend to forget the way that we were either serving or we were learning, because I can't remember a time from basic training until I was I was retired that we didn't stop learning. We were constantly upgrading our skills. We constantly started learning about things and different. Always, we had to take sharp training. We had to take logistical, training. We had to all kinds of different training that are worth so much in the civilian world. But somehow we think that that's not worth it because it's not a piece of paper. And I tell them, no, actually, you're a high valued asset out there. So now just do the same thing and don't worry too much about, the piece of paper. Just start taking courses on the thing. And then you'll see as you start your business, right? You get that passion of what it is, whatever it is, a t-shirt company, a coffee company, a beer company, or whatever it is that you want to do, protection services, all of that stuff. And then as you go, you will learn. I had the best advice given to me by a mentor when I went on my expedition to the North Pole. He said to me, he said, Bruno, the biggest leap is to start the business. Most 98% of people don't even do that leap because they're too scared of failing. He says, after that is to alleviate the mistakes that you're going to do, the stupid mistakes, right? You're going to make some mistakes, but as long as you learn from them, you don't do them 2, 3, 4 times, which costs you a lot of money, you'll be good to go. If it feels like you're always behind the 8 ball, hair straight back, keep going, because that's the next step where people quit and business fails, because this is how it's supposed to feel. But the most important one was, Bruno, it didn't matter. You're always going to get an education, whether you get it from Harvard's business school or you get it on the street by paying, by learning, by hiring lawyers and, all these things. You're going to get the same education. You're always going to pay for it. So do you think that lines up?
Yeah. You know what? Listening to what you said, what I always would tell entrepreneurs is there are resources available. Guys like you and me. There are small business associations, SBA here in the United States, that are at community colleges that have resources and mentors, people that can help you through those trials and tribulations of business. When you start to feel like you're failing or you don't know something, somebody knows. There's somebody you can reach out to, but a lot of times pride gets in the way and you don't want to ask for help. But if you would just ask for help and realize that there are people who care and are willing to help you be successful. I mean, I don't know how much free advice I give. I'm constantly trying to help people be successful. And I'm glad that they asked me, said, man, anytime you need me, please call, because I want to see people succeed. And it's just getting them to ask. Just reach out, put the olive branch out, or put out the SOS. Say, I need help. Somebody, put it on social media. Anybody know how to do this? Give me a call. And hopefully someone will reach out and help. But yeah, you don't have to do it all alone. And a lot of times I think people get that chip on their shoulder and, I got to do this. I've got to figure it out myself.
Right. I think it's the mentality that if you get out of the service or you're medically released, that you've kind of failed and you're not good anymore. And actually it's not. And the way that I kind of bring that up for the individuals that I mentor, my question to them is that if I was to ask you for help right now, or any of your buddies from, back when you were in the service, what would you say? They'd go, absolutely. I'd help them right away. I said, why would it be different for us? Why would it be different for you? Right. So the thing is you got to put that aside and start asking for help and saying, hey, I need some help here. And you're going to find out that there's a lot of us veteran business owners and everything that are willing to help out. It's just a question of, making the time and getting ready. Like it's anything, like doing when we were serving. Show up on time, make sure you're prepared with your question and everything, because everybody's time is valuable. But the minute that you start putting in the work, I love mentoring for the people that are putting in the work, and I've been lucky with everything I've done after the service. Talking about the expedition to North Pole, the Invictus Games, and all this stuff, that I got to be able to meet veterans in the US, in the UK, in Australia, New Zealand, all around the world. And I'm going to tell you, the mentality is the same. We got some amazing business owners out there that are just ready to help out.
Yeah, I don't know how many people I've reached out to, and some of my old colleagues in the military, my old NCOIC, called me the other day and he said, "Hey, I'm writing a children's book. I served with this guy at the White House 30 years ago. Reached out and said, I'm writing a children's book. What do I do? How do I get this book out? What?" And we met at the John's Winery, the Guevremont Winery, right? And we sat there, we had some wine, and we talked about how we're going to get this guy's book to where it needs to be. And just it's a veteran helping a veteran, and I think that's we have the capability to do that through the social media and staying in touch with your fellow veterans. And anytime that you've got to take the opportunity when someone reaches out for help, you got to help them, and it always comes back for you. Just the more good you do, the better.
Tenfolds, that's for sure. And also, being okay with being uncomfortable and starting to go to networking events filled with civilians as well, right? You need to get out of that military mindset a little bit as well to be fully integrated, right? Mike's laughing right now because he's going to add on to this, but those were I remember, guys, I need to share this. I remember, Mike, when I got out first, 15 years in the forces up here in Canada, and we were wearing a uniform for 15 years, being told what to wear, when to show up, doing all these things. When I got out, I didn't have any. I had an old suit. I think I didn't have the clothes, and I was really worried about this stuff. But I did go and take a course for veteran. It was called Based in Business back then. Now it's Operation Entrepreneur. And they showed me, how to dress, how to approach, and then they added an actual business mixer to get us to go and shake hands and take business cards. And, and these people were out there willing to mentor and support veterans. And I can tell you that every major cities have a veteran oriented business chamber of commerce or support for sure. How is it in the state? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's very similar. I started businesses early. So as soon as I left the military, I had opened up a DJ business, doing a little wedding DJing, and it was more for fun. And then that led into opening a catering company, and that went great. And then I sold those off. But every time I started a business, I had to go to the Chamber of Commerce mixers, and I had to meet people, shake hands, meet more people, shake hands, more, and I got really comfortable at it. You have to go to one and get introduced to people, and over time, you just get more comfortable with it. You just got to break that first initial barrier. But once you start doing the mixers and getting out there and meeting people, and that's what I always stress is, look, this is an easy game. The more people you meet, and just look at it like a backyard barbecue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wanted to get together with your buddies and have a barbecue, and you're shaking hands. Hey, nice to see you again. Take that same concept and put it into a mixer, business mixer. Shake hands. Say, hey, how have you been? Nice to see you again. I remember I met you last month. Whatever you got to do, but find something that you can relate to, bring that confidence level into that event, and start.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing is that while you were talking, it just reminded me that at the beginning, so a lot of people, when they meet me today, or organizations are looking for veterans or whatever, I get the compliment saying, Bruno, your network is so vast. Like you got it, in the States, you got it everywhere, and it's so vast. And I said, yes, but it wasn't. That at the beginning, it was so hard to, like you were just describing, to go and shake hands and to do these things. And that was, we're going to go back to 2012 here when I got medically released. And the thing was, it was hard, Mike. It was really difficult because it felt uncomfortable, but I put my best foot forward. And I remembered, you know what, if I can jump out of plane, if I can dive underwater, if I can dismantle bomb, I can go and do this. And I needed to pump myself the same way, guys. So, but the thing is that once you've created that momentum, now it's, the network keeps growing on its own, because now people are getting connected to people, and then they'll say, hey, you should talk to Bruno. And then they connect me through email and say, hey, Bruno, I want to introduce you to this guy. And sometimes you don't, that guy's not really something you need at the moment, but you go through the introduction, you go and meet this guy, or this lady, you go have coffee, say, hey, what are you doing? And all that. And that's how networks are being grown, and said, hey, I don't have anything right now, but I'll keep you in mind. And actually, most of the time, I'll connect them to other people that could use their services. But that, once again, that's a good step right there, right?
What you just said is, that is it. Connecting people with services. So last night, I'm having dinner with my son's girlfriend and her parents. And he tells me, oh, I work for a company that goes out and we do mold remediation and we clean up after major storms. And we have contracts with the military. So if the military base housing gets flooded or destroyed, we go in, we clean it up. I said, oh, I know a colleague who works for a company that manages base housing. I need to connect you guys. There's nothing in that for me except the satisfaction of connecting two people who I care about and getting them together to do business. So this is where veterans can come in and say, man, if I can help my buddy, my battle buddy, if I can help Frank connect with Joe, and those guys can be successful, I've just done a good deed. You know what? Joe is going to remember, Frank's going to remember that you helped them. And one day they're going to remember what you do and connect you to somebody. And that's the thing that, look, we got to, business is business, but here we veterans have the opportunity to help each other all the time.
Yeah.
And if we just take the time to do it, it just, everybody can be successful, help each other out.
Yeah. And you know what? And I love it. So if you're out there and you're wondering, should I start a business, because you're not really feeling going back to the working 9 to 5 or a cubicle or corporate, or, you can do so much better. One thing that breaks my heart, and it's like veterans that come out and says, I've just been out of the service, I'm going to go and work at the gas station and everything. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that sometimes they're shooting a little bit too low on the target. I think that some guys and girls that are out there, they really got some really great talent. How would you guide someone or mentor someone saying, hey, you know what, I'm thinking about starting a business, I'm not too sure where to start, or, what to start a business in, and especially today after, post-COVID, or, after the pandemic. If somebody was coming up to you, reaching out right now and saying, hey, I would like to start a business because I'm not really feeling the 9 to 5. I'd like to work for myself. Where would you start with that? How would you mentor them?
The first thing I ask everybody, what are you passionate about? Because you can start a business doing lawn care, but if you hate mowing lawns and you don't like trimming the tree, it's great that you started a business, but it won't be successful because you don't have a drive and a passion for it. So a lot of times I'll ask somebody, okay, what are you passionate about? And so people say, well, I'm really into, I love mentoring kids, or I love being outdoors. I love the service industry. I love helping people. So then, we'll just drill down a little bit and narrow it down. And then if someone can say, okay, one thing that I like is helping somebody who has a handicap, some kind of physical challenge. Okay, so are you handy? Yes, I'm very handy. Okay, what if you were a handyman who could help people build handicap ramps widen the doorways in their house, lower a countertop in the house. And now you're providing a service. You can help other veterans, and you're fulfilling that drive in your heart that says, I want to help people. So now we're feeling that passion inside. So if you have the skills and the passion, you could be successful. If you don't have the skills or the passion, you will fail every time. So I always start with the basics on that. If someone comes to me and says, I want to start a business, and I don't care what it is, I just got to start a business. Oh, well, you need to care. Because if you don't care, you're just going to waste money. You're just going to waste your time. So let's go back to the basics. What do you care about? What are you passionate about? So that's how I start. And then from there we can build.
Yeah, exactly. And you did bring something up actually that's very important to kind of remind everybody that, even though that you did start a company for executive protection system, which a lot of military personnel kind of go into right after, but you didn't start there. You said you started with a catering and a DJ business, and then you sold that one, grew that one, and then went on. And I think that's an important point, because I started right after the service with my CrossFit gym for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then I became, a guest speaker and a mentor. And then I became an executive coach. And then now I'm more into the mentoring and helping out onto that side of thing of executive coaching and high-end clients. But that's because I love talking to people. I love figuring things out, right? So things will evolve. But for you, if people were going into the executive protection systems, right, in the executive protection, how did you start that? Because I think that's a topic that most military personnel kind of know about.
So, that business started because of my military experience, and my original partner, Mark, and I were sitting around at Thanksgiving dinner, and he said, we know all of this stuff. We have all these skills on how to prepare for a chemical attack or whatever. And this was right after 9/11 here in the States, and the anthrax attacks at the Capitol. And we were sitting there going, gosh, we have all these skills. What can we do to help? And we took the skill set we had in the military and the passion for helping, and we put this business together. And we were very successful because we were able to use the knowledge, right? And if you have a veteran that has knowledge and they have that passion to do that, you can go to work for somebody in that field, or you can figure out, if you want to be an entrepreneur in that, you could say, okay, what's the niche I have understanding security? So if you're great at physical security, then maybe that's the niche you go in. If it's personal security, maybe that's the niche you go in. And then you just got to do the basic building blocks. So executive protection is a pretty wide array of different things. But, are you going to be consulting on like high-end executive protection, VIP security? Are you going to be looking at putting in home security alarms, or, like, what's the niche? And once you figure out what the niche is, what thing you're going to be great at, what your skills are at, then you start the building blocks of building a business.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the roadblocks that you ran into? I know there's a lot, but the ones that kind of stick out, let's just say at the beginning, so that some of the audience can say, I can sidestep those at the beginning. The first few mistakes, I can tell you that I was running my gym for 6 months without a business license and without insurance. So I can tell you that I tell that to everybody. I said, let's look at what licenses you need right now, because that was one of the big shock for me right at the beginning, because I was charging people. I was kind of like, I had my systems, I was coaching, everything was good. But then when the business side of things came in with the business license, the insurance, the accountant, the lawyers, and all these things. So what was for you that comes up to mind, the first few roadblocks that you would say, kind of pretty much general across?
So a lot of people discount the importance of a business plan because what you need to uncover are many of the unknowns and have somebody look at your business plan that understands these mistakes and roadblocks that you're talking about. You know, for us, we put together a business plan, and because I already had smaller businesses, the DJ business, the catering business, I already knew about insurance, I already knew about the business license. And when we got into the bigger business, the executive protection systems, what I didn't know how to do was get capital. And undercapitalization of a business will kill it.
Hmm.
And we struggled initially. We were able to sell products, but we couldn't find a way to finance the procurement of those products to resell them.
Hmm.
And we were going to the banks and we were trying to say, hey, I need a loan. They were laughing at us. What, you sell gas masks and you sell all this crazy stuff we don't understand. And it took a long time to find a bank that would give us the startup capital we needed to really get going. And then we, even at that point, we underestimated our growth. And as we were growing faster and faster and faster, we had a hard time keeping up with it, with the money. Because when you have 30, 40 people on a payroll and you're having to pay their benefits and insurance and all the things you were mentioning, you're going, wow, I really didn't think it was going to be this impactful.
Right.
And roadblocks constantly pop up as you grow, because as you get into the next level of business, it comes with new challenges.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that we always relied on was, okay, let's go find somebody who's smarter. Let's hire somebody that has that next level of experience and bring them into the company. So because we are not educated enough or don't have the experience enough to make this business get to the next level. So you can't have too much of that chip on your shoulder, that pride that says, oh, I don't need any help. So
Man.
we were always asking for help. Who do we know that can help us?
Exactly. Scaling, right? Which is a lesson that I've learned as well, right? So I was running the gym by myself at first, then got one employee, got this. And then at the end, I had 7 coaches working for me and all these things. And yeah, we're talking about benefits, we're talking about payroll, we're talking to these things. And that was just it. I think that the next step is, once again, that chip on your shoulder showing up and saying, oh man, I need to go and pick somebody else to be able to grow this. And that's when you have to step aside, when it's, especially when it's your baby, when you've created something, right? And that's the big step, the big hard pill to swallow. But I've learned that from, once again, going to seminars like Business Mastery with Tony Robbins and everything. And what I learned from that was that in a business, you have 3 individuals. At the beginning, you wear all 3 hats. You have the artist, so that's you, is offering the service. You have the manager, the manager systems guy, right? And then you have the entrepreneur. And at the beginning, you wear all 3 hats, but as you grow, you got to find the other people. For me, I'm definitely the artist. Finding somebody who's good at system and management and everything for the employees, that's a must. And then when you were talking about is that when you get to a certain point, you need to go find that person who's going to be the entrepreneur to take you from, you took the business from point A to point B. Now you got to take it to C, D, E, F, and all. And then there's specialists out there that do that. These are the guys we call the CEOs and all that, right? So
Oh yeah.
that's the next step. I think that to learn about that, there's at one point it's part of learning. It's really is a part of the educational, of learning about business.
And when we started this executive protection systems, the first year of our business, we did about $55,000. That's it. It was not a lot.
Mhm.
The second year we did about 250,000.
Great growth.
And,
Yeah.
and then when we made this magazine right here, you mentioned it, we made the Inc. 500.
Yeah. Wow.
And in 2007, we were the 100 72nd fastest growing company in the United States. Now think about how many companies there are. And I mean, it's
Well,
hundreds of
just on that
thousands.
list, there's 500, Mike.
Yeah.
Just not
But,
the ones
but,
that make the list.
but we went from 2 guys in a room to a whole team of people. And and in 2007, we had 20 people and did almost just a tad under $20 million in revenue, almost $1 million in revenue per person. And that when you think about that type of scaling that quickly, you have to have a team around you that understands finance and tax law and all of those things. And we were growing so fast, and every time we grew, there were just more challenges and more challenges. And we kept looking for the next person we could talk to, the next expert. Who do we know? Who do we know that can help us?
Exactly. Which brings us back to the network, Mike, right?
Yeah, we that's what we did. We, through the Chamber of Commerce, through our friends and Veterans Network, we were able to call in our friend Anita, and she was a bank president and vice president, loan officer. She had done everything in the banks. We brought her in. Hey, we need you to help us manage. I had brought my brother-in-law in. He worked for $1 billion company. I brought him in to help with processes. I always looked for the next person. I mean, even when we were just 2 people and we started to grow, I didn't have the experience in shipping product, but my wife did. She worked for a company that shipped computers. I said, hey, Darla, how do we ship computers? How do we, our escape codes, how do we do what you do? She said, I'll come in and help. And then she never left. And I always looked, okay, who's the next person we can bring in that's going to help us with the next process, with the next issue?
Mm-hmm.
The network is so vital.
Right, it is. And the skill of team building from the military, right? You're just looking at the expert. The thing is that when we're serving, we're not going on the battlefield or anywhere on our own. We got everybody behind us, beside us, in front of us, like all over the place. And there's a plan that makes that. You talked about the business plan. I'm so happy that we went through all of this process, because it shows exactly that there is this very similar process from serving in the military to running a business. You're talking about team building. You're talking about making plans, to be successful on your mission, to recruiting the right people, to the right assets, to really working on and recognizing what's your specialty, and then finding the people that can fill the holes.
Yeah, another military term we use a lot is lead by example. Mm-hmm. And in business, it is the same. In order to have the respect of your employees, you cannot be afraid to take out the trash, to make the coffee, and to do the hard work. Because if you want people to follow you in business, you can't be sitting on this perch. I'm the boss and I don't do the work anymore. You got to still get out there and do it, and show everybody that you still understand it. You can get in the trenches with your work colleagues, and that you're not above the work, because they'll respect you, and then they'll also appreciate the fact that you have the knowledge and it hasn't passed you by. So you got to lead by example. And one more thing that I wanted to pass along to you is a good NCO and a warrant officer in the military had this saying: it only costs a nickel extra to go first class. And the nickel can represent 5 minutes, 5 seconds, $5 more, whatever the nickel represents. It's a metaphor for, if you spend the time, the money, the energy, whatever it needs to be, everything will be that much better. It will be first class. And that's something military people understand. If you do it right the first time, if you go at it hard, the chance for success is much better than if you go half stepping. So go first class, go hard, do it right. make it the best you can make it. And as an entrepreneur, that's what will set you apart.
Yeah. I believe that, the fact that we served, in the military, and it was all always about keeping the high standards, pays dividend in the civilian world. That is for sure, because, on so many times I thought I was only giving like 60, 50, 60%. And then they were like, my God, Bruno, like your output is incredible. What are you doing? And I'm like, that was at the beginning when I was coaching in corporate. And I was like, what are you talking about? You show up on time, you're turned up, you're staying up late, you're doing all these things. And I'm like, isn't everybody doing that? And then when I started paying attention, actually, no, it's not. People don't show up on time. They don't want to really work. They don't want to do these things. So it's not hard at all as a veteran to be able to output high standard out there and to keep that for your personal pride. Once again, to really output and over deliver. That's my thing, to over deliver, to make sure, customer service is there and making sure that everybody's happy, because at the end of the day, I can go to bed saying, man, I gave it my all. Right.
You just mentioned the term customer service. That art is dead.
It is.
I mean, you can go to restaurants, you can go to almost any service industry, and people are putting out the minimum effort, whether they feel underappreciated, underpaid, whatever the issue is. You just don't see enthusiasm and drive. Here in Key West, they call it Keys disease, island disease. People come here, they'd rather be fishing than working. You call and you say, hey, I need somebody to come and fix my porch or fix my deck or whatever. And they show up one day, they don't show up the next day. They come at 12 o'clock, they leave at 4 o'clock, and they're like, what happened to quality and customer service? And this is again where you mentioned the veteran can succeed greatly because they can come out of a situation where they've dedicated their life up early in the morning to bed late at night. They take that same mentality and put that drive and quality into business. They will be superiorly successful because it's not out there right now.
It's not. And it's gone. Because before joining the military, I served, obviously, in restaurants and bars and all that for 11 years. And then on top of that, on construction, and it was all about hard working and giving the right service and everything. And that is gone. And recently, while I was away, my wife had hired, as a present to me, had hired a painter to come and paint my studio. And then they called him Trevor Whenever. I was like, what? And my wife and my mother-in-law were calling him Trevor Whenever. And my mother-in-law is very high-end. She retired, but she was high-end C-suite executive for big corporate companies. And she was like a really hard worker. And she gave him the name Trevor Whenever. You were supposed to be here at 9. Why it's 12 now? What's going on? What's happening? And the guy apparently was losing his shit because she was like telling him, like, listen, you got to do this thing. And he's like, I'm working for myself. She goes, I don't care. This work needs to be done. Let's go. Right. Trevor Whenever. I love it. So Mike, to kind of tie a big bow on this, what would be a nice piece of advice you would give out to our vets out there, both in Canada, States, UK, Australia, and everything, about, if they wanted to start a business?
All right, so I'll recap some of the important points, right? So it is use your network and meet people. Keep meeting people, keep building a network. Go on to LinkedIn, create a LinkedIn. If some people are afraid of social media, you can use it how you want to use it. If you don't want to get into the drama of Facebook, then don't use Facebook for the drama, but use it for business. Get your name out there, meet people, shake hands, be where people are, and keep meeting people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Reach out to mentors, reach out to government agencies who will help veterans. Spend a nickel to go first class, lead by example, and really take all of the drive and skills you've had in the military and bring that same practice into whatever you do. And, I think that if you just take those things which seem at this point now very basic and common sense to me, if you just take that and apply it to your drive for business. I mean, just again, I mentioned look for your passion, what's in your heart. If you find it and you use those principles that we've talked about today, it's hard not to be successful, especially in today's world where people don't care anymore. People don't have the customer service. You, the veteran, can bring that back. You can provide what people so desperately crave is the service, the quality, the drive, the commitment, all of those things that make you a great veteran can make you a great entrepreneur.
That's awesome. I really love it. Thank you so much, Mike. And you know what? One thing I'm going to add to this, guys and girls, if you're listening to this, resilience. We have nonstop resilience from serving. Listen, you've slept in the cold, in the wet. You've been in the hot. You've been in the porta potties in Afghanistan, Iraq. You've done it all. You can take, bad customers. You can take long days. You can do these things. Have confidence that you can run your own business. And you when in doubt, reach out, because there's a whole bunch of us out there that wants to see you succeed.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Mike, for coming today. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for your advice and everything. Guys, this has been the Battle Plan. I'll see you on the next episode.